follows the dimensions, but
Hi guys, happy spring. I hope y'all had great spring days. I hope you're excited for a great spring quarter. The weather is getting better, so lots to be happy about. Anyway, it is 7:36 and I'm calling this meeting to order. Can I get someone who went somewhere warm for break to read the invocation?
May we, the Student Senate, have the wisdom, patience, and guidance to be responsible representatives. May we be fair in judgments, enlightened in our discussions, and ethical in our actions. Can I get a Go Broncos?
Go Broncos!
And can I have someone who went somewhere a little bit colder read our land acknowledgement, please?
We pause to acknowledge that Santa Clara University sits on the land of the Ohlone and Muwekma Ohlone people who traced their ancestry through the Mission Dolores, Santa Clara, and San Jose. We remember their connection to this region and give thanks for the opportunity to live, work, learn, and pray on their traditional homeland. Let us take a moment of silence to pay respect to their elders and to all Ohlone people of the past and present.
All right, you may be seated.
Motion to approve previous minutes.
Motion from Herb, second from Tara. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Previous minutes are approved. We're going to do roll call really quick.
When I call on your name, please say here. Claire,
Here.
Mercedes,
Here.
Sonia,
Here.
Iman, Palmer,
Here.
James,
Here.
Sarah,
Here.
Jonathan,
Here.
Julissa, here. Charlie,
Here.
Allison, here. Herb,
Here.
Frank,
Here.
Liz, here. Leo,
Here.
Dylan,
Here.
Tara, here. Mateo,
Here.
and Carmen.
Here.
Did I miss anybody? Attendance has been called.
Thank you guys. Thank you all for being here. Be quiet. All right, public comment. Do we have any public comment today? No? Okay, cool. And now moving on to the approval of today's agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion from Liz, second from Sonia. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Today's agenda is approved. Old business, no old business today, so we'll just go straight into new business. The first of which is we have an election committee confirmation. So, Andrew, that's all you.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm just confirming work for the last election committee member because someone has to leave.
Great.
Do you guys have any questions?
I guess procedurally, can someone take Burke outside? Thank you. Any questions? Yeah.
I'm guessing she wouldn't need to get like sworn in or anything.
No, just get something.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Seconded.
Motion from Ron, second from Jonathan. All those in favor of voting say aye. All those opposed say nay. Now voting on Burke's confirmation. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, she's confirmed. Just like all right, great. Moving on. Yeah, okay, so like I said, long-awaited rules presentation. We're gonna do it. Yeah. Okay. So like I said, rules presentation. I'll try to keep it relatively short, but I do think there's a lot of good information in here. Obviously, I wish I had done this sooner, but yeah. Okay, so what are the goals? Essentially, we're going to go over some of the standing rules, which we'll get into a lot of like motions stuff, because I think that we have our motions we like, and then there's some that we just don't know about that could actually make our meetings run more smoothly. So, yeah. And then we're going to review some general rules, just go over them, and then discuss some common like challenges or issues, things I've noticed throughout the year, and how we can kind of like address them and really like finish strong this quarter. So, yeah. So what are the standing rules? The standing rules of the Senate exist to ensure that meetings are fair, efficient, democratic, and orderly. You really don't need to know much about them beyond that. Again, it's just a set of rules that provide structure to our meetings, and that's where we get things like the agenda, motions, that sort of thing. So, yeah. And if you're really interested in that type of thing, we can talk. So, yeah, but I didn't want to go too deep into it. So here's a couple like classic motions, things we do a lot. Vote, which again, technical definition, forces a vote on the pending questions. You need a supermajority, not necessarily for, so you need a supermajority for a bylaw change, you need a simple majority for a resolution, but for the motion itself, you need a supermajority. And then, yeah, to adjourn, again, we all know what adjourn is, we love that one. Basically ends the meeting, simple majority, and then approve or amend, like approving the agenda, amending the agenda, solidifies or changes the language of an amendable motion. Again, that's. And then, so some other motions I wanted to go over. Again, really quickly, just like I was saying earlier, some of them we've used, but I do think, like, I just don't want you guys to maybe you feel like a discussion is going on for too long. There's certainly something you can do about that, for example. So, yeah, to postpone, definitely. We've done that a couple of times, but it just delays an item from consideration, vote. And then for when you're postponing, definitely you're specifying the time which it comes back. That requires a simple majority. We did that most recently with the SAC bylaw change, where we just did a week, and then we had an extra week to look it over, to learn about it, and then we voted. So that's kind of what that means. And you can do this on any resolution or bylaw change. Again, I think that was the perfect use of that motion, where people just didn't feel like they had the right information at the time. And yeah, I want you guys to feel like when you're voting, you actually know what you're voting on, and that you have like the adequate information to make the decision. So that's certainly something in the toolbox. And then postpone indefinitely, pretty much the same thing. except you don't specify the time that you're gonna sort of come back to it. So, yeah. Maybe for some reason, if there was something that you were gonna vote on and then it just for some reason became completely irrelevant, that would potentially be a situation where you postpone indefinitely. But yeah. You can also motion to limit or extend debate. That one's pretty self-explanatory. That can be in terms of like time. I think that that's how we've used it most frequently. You can also limit like the amount of times that people can speak. And then, yeah, and then so that's a supermajority. Again, like I said, it's, you know, maybe you just feel like a conversation's going in circles, and it's not being productive, and there's not a way to resolve it. That's something you can do. So, yeah. And then you can also divide the question. This one's, I would say, even more niche, but you basically split a single motion into separate parts so that each part can be debated or voted on individually. One example that I could think of where this might have been useful was our questions about the stipend bylaw change in the fall, where we had the increase to air stipend and then the decrease or the getting rid of the Bronco News stipend. I think everyone was in agreement that air should get paid more, and then all of our discussions were really about the Bronco News position. So that's a situation where we could kind of like split that into two. We can all agree VP should get paid more, and then that way we could have focused our discussion a little bit better. So yeah, those are like the ones where when I was going through the motions, there's not a ton of them, but I just felt like in our meetings these could be used, and I wanted you all to know the tools that you have. So yeah. And then all the motions that I just talked about need a second. These are technically motions, but they're a little bit more casual in the sense of like you don't need a second, but they're motions also in the sense that I think for all of these you're able to interrupt when you motion them, because of course usually you're not allowed to interrupt each other, but if someone's going on and you have a question, we want to get your question answered, obviously, so you can use these. So the first one is a request for information, pretty simple. Asks a clarifying question about a motion or a topic. This isn't like, it's not something to be debated, it's again just a clarifying question. Point of order, that was used a lot last year. But yeah, it calls upon the chair, so in this case me, for a ruling or enforcement of the rules when you might think that our rules, like our standing rules, are being violated. So that could really be anything, like for example, if we didn't approve the agenda, it could be a situation where it's a point of order, do we need to approve the agenda for today? And you can do that at any time. You can interrupt me, you can interrupt someone else. Again, it's just to make sure we're doing things right and we're doing things efficiently. And then a point of parliamentary inquiry. I think of it kind of a little bit as a combination of the two, but this is asking me a procedural question, and yeah, so that would be a lot of it's technically, I think it's a question for Nash, but again, just if you have a question about procedure, that's what that would be about. Yeah. Wait, does anyone have any questions so far? No? Okay. Oh, yeah.
Can you reiterate the parliamentary environment?
Yeah, so that would be, again, a procedural question.
What would that look like?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a good example. Like, let's say, maybe if there was something that if let's say it was a situation where something was presented this week, or in any given week, it doesn't have to be this week, something was presented in a week, and that same day people wanted to vote on it, I think that that could be a parliamentary inquiry in terms of like, how do we vote today? Can we vote today? Sort of like, can we suspend the standing rules? That type of thing. Ted, would that be, does that sound right?
Yeah, probably one of the most common inquiries is this a simple majority or supermajority vote?
Yeah, okay, thank you. That's it, yeah. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Other questions? No? All right. And then a few other standing rules, non-related to motions. In terms of public comment, members of the public, and actually, again, we talked about this last meeting, but just in general, anyone speaking during the Senate must first gain recognition from the chair, and then public comment is limited to 10 total minutes, but can be extended by motion. So I think we did that once last year where we had a ton of people here and we wanted everyone to speak, so we extended it beyond 10 minutes. But yeah, and then, yeah, like I just said, to obtain the floor to speak during a debate or a discussion, a senator must first be recognized by the chair. And then once you have the floor and you're speaking, you can't be interrupted. That's not a problem. You guys don't often interrupt each other. But again, like I said in the previous slide, if you have one of those questions, point of order, inquiry, etc., you can interrupt because we want everyone to be clear on what we're doing. So, yes. And then closed sessions. A session may be closed for issues of privacy, safety, or other. And then when the Senate meets in a closed session, the camera would stop and the minutes stop. So if you guys remember, last Senate, we closed the session. So we turned off the camera and Svani stopped taking minutes. So yeah, any questions about those? And again, in terms of the obtaining the floor thing, I don't want that to seem like super formal or like intimidating. It's really just like to prevent unnecessary back and forth between each other. Like we don't want things getting too intense or too out of control, and that just helps sort of mitigate that. So yeah. Keep in mind a couple of general rules that I wanted to remind everyone of. Again, technology, I think everyone's, for the most part, been doing really good at this, and I do appreciate it, especially when our meetings get long, but please don't use your phones or laptops while the meeting is in session, unless we've talked about it before. Of course, there's times when I've said, like, it's fine, you can get them out and look at whatever. So, yeah. Again, I appreciate it. I know it's like we have the long meetings, but yeah. Dress code, again, I don't want to be a stickler, but if it's business professional, maybe don't wear the sweatpants that day. And yeah, if you have issues, like if for some reason like it doesn't work for you that day, like let's say for some reason you have to be on campus all day or you got stuck on campus, it's fine. But just in general, when you can, follow the dress code and take it seriously. It's not a suggestion, it is the dress code, so yeah. Absence policy, this is the biggest one, I think. Again, most everyone's doing really good at this. If you're going to be absent, please fill out the form 24 hours in advance. Within the form, there's a section, if you're submitting it less than 24 hours in advance, there's a part that just says provide a reason. If you're sick, if you have an emergency, like of course. I totally get it. So yeah, and then you do need to contact Ryan, Erta, or Sarah separately if you're gonna miss all call as well. You can tell me you're gonna miss all call, but they're the ones that need to know from you, so, yeah. And then in general, please check and respond to your emails and your Slack messages, show up to your committee meetings. This isn't something that I've noticed necessarily as a problem, besides maybe the Slack stuff. But yeah, and then please read the emails that I send on Tuesdays. It's kind of awkward and semi-obvious when someone doesn't read them, because often there's information in there that I put in there, and then if you ask a question about it, then it's like, oh, maybe you didn't email that week. I try to keep them short, but I bold the stuff that's most important. So if you're gonna skim it, just check the bold stuff. But again, please read it. And yeah, any questions about those? Awesome. Okay, thank you. All right, so last thing we're getting into, I didn't even want to call them challenges. I know that's what I put on there. But these are just like things that I've noticed this year that have been different 2 years past. And that they're things that I've gotten comments on that I think are appropriate to address, just so that, like I said earlier, we can finish out strong. So yeah, so the first thing I want to talk about is the difference between open letters and traditional resolutions. Technically, an open letter is a type of resolution. We've talked about the difference between them, but I won't go over it unless, does anyone need a refresher? No? Okay, cool. Yeah. So, if you happen to be working on legislation, please do seriously consider which format to use when you are making said legislation. Resolutions, I put in quotes, get more done, in the sense that you are asking for specific actions a lot of the time. Like Bailey mentioned in his presentation, our legislation is not binding, meaning like we can put something on a page, that doesn't mean anyone has to do it. But in general, I think people do respect the things that we pass. And so, yeah, a resolution asking 10 things, even if not all of those things happen, like maybe 7 of them will happen or be implemented. So, yeah, and then open letters, in a sense, also get things done, but more of in the sense of raising awareness. I put up there that especially if a specific group is asking for an open letter, I think that that is like, if not a very good, if not the perfect reason to write one. But I just want you guys to know that we don't have like, I guess the responsibility to address things happening on a national scale in like an open letter. That would be far too much to ask of you all. And yeah, obviously sometimes there's a space for it when members of our student body are directly affected, but I don't want that to be something where you feel pressured to address that, because again, it's not, you don't have to do that. But yeah, so again, just keep in mind, if you're working on something, just keep this in mind, and please let me know if you're confused or if you have any questions about which format you should use. This year we've had probably, I mean, this is the most open letters we've had in a year since I've been here. Ted, is this, I mean, open letters are relatively new too, so yeah.
Yeah, probably in the last year and a half.
Yeah, so this is the most open letters we've had in a year. You can see the percentage breakdown between last year and this year. So yeah, just keep it in mind. But like I said, open letters do have their place. And I think that as far as I'm aware, all of the open letters this year have been, specific groups have been asking for them. And like I said, I think that that is more than appropriate reasons for it. And then another thing I wanted to add is just the power of projects or events. I know I just talked about legislation, and that is perhaps like the more obvious thing that we do here, but don't underestimate the power of just like an ongoing project or a specific event that isn't tied to any, bylaw change, open letter, resolution. Those things take a lot of time to write, and oftentimes I would say a project or an event is going to be like the more efficient, direct, and effective way to actually address an issue. I think the panels that you guys are putting on, I think that that's an excellent example of this type of thing. Those are going to be super fruitful. And again, like it wouldn't, for those, like it wouldn't necessarily make sense to write an open letter about every single thing that the administration has done in the past however many days. Because again, I don't want you guys to think that that's your responsibility. But I think that like getting experts in the room, I think that that's great. And I think that that's going to have a lot of positive impact. So yeah, I didn't write any, I wasn't the principal author on any legislation until after I got elected as Senate Chair. Literally all my time as a senator was doing projects and event-based things. So yeah, again, if you have any questions about that, how that might look, please come talk to me. Like I said, I love projects and events. So yeah. And then lastly, if there's anything you take away from tonight, probably I'd like it to be this. Your term goes by quickly. A year might seem like a long time, but it goes by fast, especially if you got confirmed somewhere in the middle of the year. Spring quarter especially is going to go by fast, especially because we end week 8 and then probably won't be having Senate on the day of formal. So if you have something you're working on, now's the time to sort of dive into it, especially earlier in the quarter when perhaps you have more time, and make sure they're done by week 8 for legislation. That should be done by week 7, which is the 15th, just because we need to have it presented and then we'll vote the following week. So, yeah, any questions on that one? Cool. Yeah, thank you. As always, let me know if you need anything, but that's my presentation for the quarter. Those are my reminders, and I hope you just keep them in mind as we go through this quarter. Great. The last thing we have for today is we have a bylaw change.
Yeah. Do you have it?
Yeah, So yeah, you got it, Zach.
Howdy y'all, you're probably tired of seeing SAC bylaw changes, but here we are. Basically, some of you guys may or may not know about PSO Fair. What that is that every year clubs, people can start clubs and apply to become recognized and get funding from the school. So that's called PSO Fair. And then basically what happens is that 1 week, I believe it's like before or after Senate, we kind of like go see them all at the tables and like talk to them and see what their club is doing. And then the week after we'll vote on like whether or not we want to approve these PSOs. I'll give you guys more information about it as we get closer, but at the moment we've got kind of like a scheduling issue. Right now, per the official bylaws, those have to be, the PSO fair has to be on week 3 and voting has to be week 4. However, due to formal and a holiday, that doesn't really work, so we gotta push it to week 5 and 6 this quarter. As such, we needed to make a bylaw change for that, just to sort of have that on paper. So yeah, that's kind of what's in there. I've been working with Claire and TSI on this as well, so they're in the loop as well. Anyone have any questions? Awesome. Due to sort of,
Is this the only change?
yeah,
Okay.
that's it. Due to sort of urgency, I'm going to be motioning to vote on this today. So yeah, motion to suspend the standing rules of Senate.
Second.
Motion from Herb, second from Carmen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, standing rules are suspended.
Motion to vote.
Second.
Motion from Herb, second from Charles. All those in favor of voting say aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, now voting, we're just gonna do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstaining? Cool. All right. In that case, it's passed. Congratulations. Can I have someone reinstate the standing rules?
Motion to reinstate
Second.
Motion from Carmen, second from Herb. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. All right.
Point of parliamentary inquiry. What's the sort of, do we have a, I know at the end of last year, we passed a lot of stuff regarding like transition and such. So this quarter, are we gonna need to like start working on like transition documents and other stuff as we get closer to the end?
Yeah, I will, yeah, let's talk about it. One of my goals this year was to improve the onboarding process. Historically, especially for Senate, it's been pretty bad. I still think we have a ways to go, but I think like me giving presentations and stuff helps. But I think what would help the most is transition documents. Again, we'll get into it more later, but it's just a document that kind of has like, you know, maybe like contacts you used a lot, or like, you know, like let's say your Mercedes, like you'd have like Phil's contact and stuff like that, and maybe like the things you worked on and you know, like what you did throughout fall, winter, spring. Again, we'll get into it more. It was something that started last year but wasn't fully like followed through. But I do want to be sort of serious about it this quarter so that we can actually, again, just have like a smooth transition in that everyone coming in the next Senate sort of, you know, if you're a newcomer, feel like you have a document of everything that, it's kind of like a how-to, like a tutorial or like a manual. So yeah, more on that later, but that is going to be something required of every senator, and I'll be enforcing that right now. So yeah. Other announcements. Again, I'm gonna say it again. Salt Walk, please be there. Again, if you want to perform, let me know. One more thing that I forgot to mention earlier. We're making like signs, cardboard signs for the walk itself. So if you have leftover cardboard, you can leave it in the office, and I will use it. So yeah. Other roundtable remarks? Yeah, those.
Two roundtable remarks. The first one is, I believe that from our ASG service drive, we still have like the cardboard boxes in the ASG office. I think I left them in there. So if you want to, you can just cut it off and use the cardboard from that.
Thanks.
And then the second one is, technically it's my like ASG Senator Day in the Life day today. So I was wondering if I could possibly get like a video with everyone in it of like, to like add like the like all, like not all call, but like Senate part of it kind of. Yeah. Perfect, thank you.
Stop, Liz!
Special?
I don't know, do you want to like say like go Broncos I guess, like our invocation thingamabob.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, yay, okay. Let me see. I'm gonna like, how are we gonna do this?
Yeah, like do something.
If you're not like in the table section, get in the table section. So we make sure that like you're in the video. So like get behind like Claire and stuff like that if you are like on the side. We have everybody. Everybody that wants to be in it.
Do you need any help, Liz?
I think I'm good. I think I'm good. I got like almost everybody. If you're like, let's see.
You should say
If you're like Carmen and James, no, if you could move like behind Tanya, like that. You're like everybody on this side, if you could move like over my baby. Sorry. Everyone on this side, like over my baby.
I shall abstain.
Okay, let's see. Okay, we got everybody. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Perfect.
That's why I see it.
Once everybody gets their phone, goes back on their phones, go to the Instagram and comment and like and interact. And then Matthew just posted all the election information on the website, so if you want that, it's all on there. So, thank you, Matthew.
Other roundtable remarks?
Second.
Motion from Jonathan, second from Herb. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.